Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Hello, I'm the bad cop. You know, I'm speaking on behalf of Daryl W4, and this is the GeoGearHeads. Specifically, GeoGearHeads 151. It's a weekly show for geocachers and location-based gamers. Tonight, we're going to be talking about camping with Pete of the Amazons in the UK. He's back with us, so thank you so much for joining us, Pete. We know it's early in the morning over there. So
it is, yeah, it is, Chris. It's 2 a.m. So,
impressive. Now, do you stay up until 2, or have you taken a nap and gotten back up? Looks like it might be a tough question for our friend over there.
Unfortunately, it looks like the Googles are continuing to give us problems, and
stumped him, haven't I, Daryl? Oh, no, he's alive again.
There we go.
He must have fallen asleep.
All right. Well,
I feel scared to say anything.
Yeah, it's like the Googles have it out for you today, and they're not going to let you talk.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us again. And for anyone who doesn't know, Pete of the Amazons is their caching name, also is the host of the podcast show over in the UK. Pete, you want to give people a quick rundown on what the podcast show is?
Okay. Well, I can hear both of you at the same time here, but yeah, the podcast show is a yeah, the podcast show is a podcast about geocaching.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like you're having some nasty latency issues. You don't, by any chance, have the live video playing somewhere else? All right. Well, we'll move on a little bit. Hope that that clears itself up. And Pete was last on GeoGearHeads episode 141 when we talked about essential geocaching tools. And before we get into the camping, we need to announce the winner of that $10 cash advance gift certificate. To be entered, all you had to do was correctly answer when the only Thursday in 2014 would be without a live GeoGearHeads show. So, Pete, would you share the answer and who won that prize?
Yeah, that's Christmas Day, which is also the last Thursday of the year. I'm told that there were no wrong answers this week for a total of over 34 entries on that really easy question. I also hear that Giddyup was the winner of the random draw and that they've already received that gift certificate by email.
That's exactly right, Pete. And congrats to Giddyup, and thanks to Cash Advance for that gift certificate. We'll have one more to give away soon, but not next week. Next week, we have a prize from coinsandpins.com for the weekly drawing, and we'll have a live drawing for another one of those beautiful Compass Rose geocoins. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, November 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for your chance at one of those awesome coins. Well, let's get into the camping topic. And the reason that we wanted to have Pete on tonight is we keep hearing that Pete is one of those avid campers over in the UK that we really needed to talk to. So, Pete, why don't you give us a little bit of background about you and your camping and geocaching?
Well, yeah, we've been camping for over 10 years now. We haven't, and the best thing about camping is that since we took up geocaching, they go hand in hand. Because we go to lots of events, and especially the mega events in this country, always have camping involved. And so, I mean, I used to go camping when I was a lot younger, but since I started a family, the children love camping, and we started off on just a smallish tent, and we've just got more and more equipment and a bigger tent, and we love it.
So you primarily tent camp. Is there any caravan camping for you?
Well, we used to do when the children were younger. We used to rent a caravan, but I've never wanted to tow a caravan because I'm a truck driver, and it would just be like well, it'd be just like permanently doing the job you do. But no, I'm more interested in canvas. Well, it's not canvas anymore, is it? But I prefer tents. But the trouble is in this country is that really the amount of time you can camp is narrowed down because of the weather. But yeah, we try and get in as many camping trips as possible, to be honest.
Well, now, Pete, I think your weather would be very much like mine, where it does rain most of the year. You get a few months there with it's not necessarily even sun; it's just less rain.
Right.
And here in the Northwest, what we have to do is we call it blue canvas or blue tarp camping. You put up your tent, and then you go ahead and put a tarp over the tent. You
Right.
can spread that out a little bit, give yourself some space off to the sides, the front and the back to be outside the tent, but you're still having to even cover the tent itself. Is that true in the UK as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've gone from having a tent that well, we've now got one that's got a sawn-in ground sheet, so it extends your camping season because you're not it's not as cold, to be honest. But I've never actually had to cover the tent with an extra tarpaulin, so it must rain worse where you are than it does here, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Well, it's just what we do out here. Well, nice. Now, do you mentioned mega events? So I assume you're going camping for the mega events, much like we have here in the States. All the mega events have a campground either right there on site or very close by, and a lot of people here in the U.S. prefer to do that because those campgrounds fill up and nothing flat.
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly mega events that you're going out.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that last bit.
Is it mainly for the mega events that you're going out camping?
Yeah, it is. There are several planned for 2015, and I think it's almost essential that people are able to camp because it's people are travelling from all parts of the UK, and but there are other events that people host that are not necessarily mega events. They just are primarily camping events, which is we've been to a few of those as well.
Nice.
Well, it seems to me that the camping really does change the social dynamic of the events in many cases because you have all of the campers together in the same spot, and they get to socialize before and after the event in a way that you normally wouldn't get to do if everyone was at the hotel or going, back and forth by car because, well, they're not there on site.
Yeah, that's right. Well, funnily enough, the weekend has just passed. We went to Cambridge, and we weren't camping. We were staying in a hotel. But because people had to go out to the hotel to eat or whatever, we weren't all gathered together. So it was different. And whereas camping, you're all together around the campfire almost. And you're quite right, Darryl, that it brings people together, and it's the social side of geocaching that we really like.
Very nice. Now, we do have feedback from Google Plus from our friend Wet Coaster. He's from Canada, so he's, much like you, a British citizen, shall we say, a UK citizen. He asked, do you normally cache from a base camp or cache and camp along the trail to your next campsite?
In this country, I would definitely base camp. The trouble is, of course, is that the UK is nowhere near the size of Canada and the USA, and so to be honest, I don't know anybody who would sort of carry a tent along with them and cache along the way. They would set up somewhere as a base and then just cache in that area. That's something we always do.
Interesting. So, how long are your stays out camping?
Well, if it was a mega event, it was going to be a week, and but normally we would have, say, an extended weekend. I would take, like, say, the Friday off work, and we would have 3 nights: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just to give us that extra day, because if you get there on a Saturday and you're not allowed on the campsite till lunchtime, well, you're practically having to leave 18 hours later or whatever. But
Exactly.
yeah, so we try and especially if we've travelled some distance, we try and have an extra day at the weekend.
Very nice. Now, Pete, you mentioned your family.
Yeah.
What age are your children that are camping with you?
Well, my children now are 18 and 16, so their days of camping with us may be at an end. But when they were, well, I say it was 10 years ago, they had no choice; they had to come with us. But my wife and I are considering now getting a smaller tent, just because we don't need this huge tent we've got.
Sure. Well, having teenagers with you really, I think, changes the way you camp. Are you taking more creature comforts with you when you're camping?
Yeah. It's I don't know whether you use this term in the States, but we call it glamping rather than camping.
There you go.
Which is glamour camping,
Mm-hmm.
which is I mean, I'll draw the line at taking a microwave or whatever, but I know people who do. We don't take a TV with us, but we've pretty much got everything else, and why not? You know, we like to be comfortable. But we did go camping in May last year, and that was in Kent. That was at the Kent Mega in the UK. And when we woke up in the morning, there was you couldn't open the tent because all the zips were frozen. So that was the first time that had ever happened. But that was a bit too extreme. That so. And we have sort of blown the electric, because we get like an electric hookup, yeah, for the electrics, and we have blown those a few times by having like a kettle and lights and other things on all at the same time. But it's part of the fun that you go out at midnight with a torch and try and put the electric back on.
Nice. Well, that actually leads into another question that White Coaster had posted. He asked, for your camping trips, do you carry solar panels to recharge, extra batteries, or monitor your usage, or all of the above? And, well, it sounds like you're just pretty much plugging in for any of the power that you need.
Yeah, lights. We have got solar lights, so we've usually placed them around the tent, mainly to stop people falling over the ropes on the way back from the pub, because that can be annoying. But I have seen in camping shops that you can buy a number of things that are solar powered, but because we usually have electric hookup, we don't need them.
And if it's raining as much as you say, I don't know if solar would be that much of an advantage.
Well, exactly, yeah. That's probably why more people fall over our ropes at when it's been raining. There's no lights to guide the way.
Well, that seems like it would be a special consideration around the geocaching events, because you don't generally have that. If you're just going camping for fun with the family on some random weekend. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did go to one event where it was Christmas. The theme was Christmas, and so it was a Christmas camping event. And this was in July, I think it was. And everybody had put Christmas decorations up on the tent, so it was extremely easy to find your way back to your tent, and you weren't falling over anything. So it was great fun.
Yeah, but I guess things like the lights might be a tip for anyone going to a mega event and trying to camp there. Is a lot of times people will have a little bit of adult beverage at the events,
I
and
believe.
you might,
Yeah, I
yeah,
believe so. I believe they do. Yeah, yeah.
so you might want to have something to kind of avoid tripping over the lines there.
Yeah, yeah.
We did actually get a question from Native Texan on a totally different subject, and she asked if we covered cots or inflatable mats for tent camping. So do you have a preference as to a cot or those little self-inflating mats, or maybe even like one of those air mattress things?
Ah, right, a cot. Sorry, a cot in this country is something you put a baby in. But right, so that threw me a bit. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not a cot. Yes, no, we have these inflatable mattresses. We started off with the whole, the pump that your arms and your shoulders were aching after a few minutes, but we've moved on to some beds that you just plug in and they automatically inflate. So I did mention it was glamping. If anybody's listening to the show is expecting me to us to talk about camping up in the mountains somewhere, then they might be a little bit disappointed.
So what are you taking? Are you doing just a cooler with ice to keep your food and beverages cold, or are you taking a small refrigerator?
We've got a small refrigerator. Yeah, we have in the past though. Took a cool box and bought ice from a supermarket, and that's been okay to keep beverages, as we say. It's cool. But yeah, if you're taking, especially it depends where you are, because if you're a good distance from a town, then we always take a lot of food with us, and you need a refrigerator for that. So yeah, that's it. It depends on how long we're going away for. If we're going away for a full week, then we do tend to take a lot of stuff, and that would include the fridge.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you staying at your campsite the entire time, or do you take your vehicle, go back into town to resupply if you need to?
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we just pitch the tent and then use the car to go cash in and get supplies. Yeah.
Okay, Pete, a question I know people want to ask.
Uh-huh.
Do you pick the spot based on the geocaches, or do you pick your camping spot based on somewhere you haven't been, based on the campground?
Absolutely. Every holiday we do now is how good is the caching around there? It's vital. It's yeah. I can't imagine going anywhere and thinking and then getting there and then deciding to have a look if there's any caches. It would just it just wouldn't work.
Very good.
Well, a quick question from Limax in the live Q&A. He says, sounds like this is a many-room tent. So is this one of those tents with multiple rooms, or do you just have one that everyone sleeps in the same area?
No, it's got 3 rooms. Sorry, it's got 4 rooms. There's one each for the children, and then there's a large central part where we eat, and then there's a double room that me and my wife have. But we've got a dog now. I mean, we've had her just over 15 months, and she enjoys camping as well. So she usually comes in with us because if it's cold, I mean, you can sort of snuggle up to the dog.
Well,
yeah, it's an extra heater.
And like the younger children, the dog doesn't have much of a choice.
Well, this is it. Yeah. Although she does tend to get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, which is a bit unnerving to suddenly peek out of your sleeping bag and have the dog looking at you in your face. But
nice.
Well, talking about the different types of camping for events and for just outings, is there anything that maybe people should keep in mind if they're going just for the events rather than just going out for a family holiday?
I don't think you need anything sort of extra, but what I found with people, especially if it's a caching weekend, people are pretty worried about being able to get Wi-Fi and be able to charge up their phones, etc. So I think you've got to bear that in mind, that you need to be able to have a source of power somewhere. But to be honest, I don't really change much. Whether we're going caching or not. Although it seems quite a while ago now that we've been caching without we've been camping when we haven't been caching.
Interesting. Now, when you're at the mega events, do you bring something, or do you bring more, either in the way of food or tables, chairs, what have you, to be able to host people at your campsite?
Yeah, well, at Kent we did, because for the first time, really, we realised that that lots of people had heard of the podcast show and were I'm not saying anxious to meet us, but wanted to come along and say hello. So we did sort of I think we put a photograph up on Facebook and said, here's our tent. Here's our banner, which is behind me here, and if you see us, just come along and say hello, and that did work. There was a steady flow of people, to be honest, which was quite nice.
Nice.
In fact, there was people actually from all over at the Kent Mega. There was people from all over the world. We met some people who come from South Africa, which was bizarre, to be honest, but. I mean, I want to say this bizarre because I can't imagine travelling to South Africa to go to an event. But.
Yeah. As I recall, you guys actually did do some recording from the campsite at that show.
That's right, we did. Yeah. We just wandered around speaking to people, which is what we normally do. That's how we run the podcast. If anybody looks interesting, we just ask them if we can have a chat. And yeah, to be honest, it seems so long ago. I can hardly remember what was in that show. But there was the people from South Africa I remember well, and we got a bit of feedback off them because they then went home and listened to the show and enjoyed it, which was great.
That's nice. Now, at our mega events here in Washington State, which is the home of geocaching, we get people from all over the world. It's almost at every mega event, we will have people from Germany, Holland, Czech Republic. They're really into caching in those countries, and they'll come to the U.S. for a mega event. And typically they don't camp when they're here. They'll stay at a hotel just because it's a lot of gear to try to wrangle together. There's a question in the Q&A from Kid Vegas 19 that says, our Washington State Geocaching Association holds a camp out for members each year in different parts of the state. Lots of caching related activities. Do you have something similar to that? Do you have a geocaching association that does a yearly camp out?
Well, we have a lot of regional ones, which I guess is the same as the Washington one. And there is... I wouldn't say everybody holds a camping event, but there is a regional group in South Wales, and they're having one in 2015. And Essex, that's another English county, they're having a mega event, which again will incorporate camping. But because you can have an event published early if you've got camping, I tend to look to see if there's any that have been published for next year that specifically incorporate camping, and there hasn't been any yet. But I know they do exist, and I would look out for them because it makes a good weekend if everybody's like-minded. But we have been on several that have not actually been events. They've just been people who've said, let's have a get-together, a camping get-together, and we've really enjoyed those.
Yeah, it seems like it would be an especially good way to hit those parks. Here over in the States, we've got the parks that have a lot of caches placed in them. So if they have the camping, hey, let's get together with our friends, plan a camping weekend, go hit a whole bunch of caches the first day and a whole bunch of caches the next day, and camp in between. Yeah,
that's just about what we do. swap notes when you all get back, and people coming back from a caching trip and a few DNFs, and then you just say, oh well, I found it, and then they'll go back next day and find it. That's what it's all about. I think it's that, like I said, it's the social side of it. Is that people get together like that, and I think it really does go hand in hand, the camping and caching.
Well, Native Texan just posted in the live Q&A. I like getting together with several camp cachers and sitting around someone's campfire and having a potluck in the evening. During the day, you get together and hit the trails, night caches if there are any in the park or campground. And Wet Coaster actually had asked something very similar. Do you do much night caching when you're on these camping trips?
Oh well, there was one a few weeks ago. We weren't actually camping, but it was we could have camped, but because it was so near to where we live, we just went for the day. But there was one. It was a Halloween theme, the Halloween Mega, and there was a lot of night caches then. The thing is, you've got to be able to place caches somewhere with permission, and that's not always possible because of the landowners in this country, maybe like what's called the National Trust, and it takes a long time to get permission to place caches, and some of them are not keen on people thrashing around in the woods at night. So it has to be a well organised one. But yeah, we like night caching. I mean, it's something I'd love to do more of, to be honest.
Well, and we have a number of shows on night caching, and to be extra convenient, Chris, I think you guys are going to be doing a night caching show on caching in the Northwest.
Exactly. We're talking about it tonight.
So, yeah, if you want more info on night caching, good sources. But to me, that would be a perfect kind of situation. You wait for it to get dark, have your dinner around the campfire, head out on the trail, and come back to the campfire and tell your ghost stories or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. That would be excellent. Yeah. And of course, you would have to be careful. You couldn't partake in any sort of alcoholic beverage before or afterwards, because you want to find your way back to your tent.
Well, that just enhances the ghost stories.
Well, yeah.
And
just add another star for the difficulty.
Oh, there you go.
Limax said in the Q&A, I've mainly been on hikes with cachers around here. We should see about overnight at some point. Sounds like a good plan. Do you have any tips for someone like that who hasn't been caching? Maybe something that they should look out for when caching with a group and camping at the same time?
I think that if somebody, whoever's organised the camping, would know the local area, right? That's what we've found, is that so you can get together with people and they will suggest where you could go caching. That's the beauty of somebody with like local knowledge. If that's what if that's what he means. Sorry, I haven't read what he's actually put.
Yeah, well, he just said that he's been on the hikes, and he would like to go out for an overnight trip. But someone with ground truth in the area is definitely a great resource, no matter what it is. And I think that probably would be a little bit more true with camping, just because you're kind of going blind and relying on what's available much more than if you're just going out for a quick day hike.
Yeah. Well, with campsites, it's the same as booking a hotel. People, I always look to see what other people think of the campsite. Some are better than others, and you don't want to be travelling a long distance and find that it's not really suitable. But and so I think when caches organise camping trips, camping events, they'll know. They'll pick a campsite that everybody's going to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Now, here in the area, when we go out camping, I don't have all the gear. My wife didn't grow up camping, so I don't get to take her along in the camping experience. But however, we can get a camping. a cabin. I'm sorry, at our national parks here in the area. So we'll rent the cabin. It already has the bed, so we have to bring everything else for it, and
Right.
there's electricity. So it's a bit like your glamping.
Yeah, yeah,
However,
yeah.
I have seen just recently at from REI, a local outdoor store. They've partnered with an organization that does real glamping,
Right.
and they were going to go to Arches National Park in Utah here, just for 3 days. However, everything's set up for you. You've got
Hmm.
real beds in the tent. You've got comfortable chairs to sit in. All your
Right.
meals are catered. And I
Yeah,
looked at
yeah.
this. I go, well, how much do you think something like what this would cost? And I was absolutely shocked to find it was $1,000 for a person per person
Right.
for a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I've seen. I don't know whether you've heard of the Glastonbury Festival. It's a music festival in the UK, and you can hire what's called a yurt. Do you know what a yurt is? Y-U-R-T. Yeah,
We have
and
those.
they're just full of like four-poster beds and everything. That's just taking it a little bit too far. But you can get these cabin. You can get cabins in this country, and also you can. You can just turn up, as you say, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You can just turn up and everything is there for you. It's a nice idea, but I think it's just sort of taking it a little bit too far, to be honest.
Well,
And the cost, of course, is phenomenal.
well, the cabins here are, I want to say they're only $30 more a night than a standard site. So
Yeah.
it's not unreasonable. It's half the price of a hotel, but yet you're still out in the woods. So I like that idea,
Yeah, yeah,
but I would prefer to go tent camping myself.
exactly.
But the wife says no, and well, I may be the head of the family, but she's the neck that turns the head.
Right.
Well, we did get another comment from Native Texan in the live Q&A. I've been on one trip where the reviewer held all the new caches until midnight. It was a mad scramble in the dark, everyone heading in different directions to try to get FTF. I came home with a lot of chiggers on that trip.
Ooh.
Yep, I've been to exactly the same sort of events. The Halloween Mega I told you about, that was exactly the same. That I think, well, it wasn't midnight, but it was I'd say 8 p.m. Suddenly, there's like over 1,000 caches trying to find these night caches. It was just madness. And
With all
the guy
lights,
the
it
guy
would
we
have
were
been-
following. We were following this guy. He was a reviewer, actually. I won't name him, but we were following this, and he was so keen to get to the first one that he left us all behind, and we didn't have a map, and nobody had a GPS. It was just crazy. So yeah, I fully understand what went on there.
with 1,000 cachers in the woods at night with flashlights or torches. Really, was it night caching?
Well, yes, I'm surprised that there was no like aircraft headed for us, because I can imagine it did look well, ridiculous, to be honest. There was a lot of people, and although we did get horribly lost, so well, I don't know how we got that lost, but it was very tiring, wandering around and expecting to fall over something any minute as well.
Yeah, night caches tend to be a lot different if you have a whole lot of people too, so that's probably something to consider if you're trying to hide in a night cache. Is if it's for an event, things like the lasers and fire attacks might not be as effective if there's 50 people there.
No, exactly. Yeah. I've been given some fire attacks to try out, and I put one down the bottom of the garden because it was just easier than going into the woods nearby. But I think we made a mistake when the first time we went night caching is we took this huge flashlight with us, and it was just too powerful to pick up the tacks. But when we tried it with smaller torches, it worked fine, and we really enjoyed doing that night caching. Like I say, I'd love to do some more, but there's not that many in this area. I think it's mainly because people don't want you want people in the woods at night and possibly damaging the the environment there.
Yeah, we have a lot of the parks around here where they don't want anyone in the park after sundown, so night caching is much more difficult to find a location around here.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, there's a handful of them here, but we've done most of them.
Nice. Now, one of the night caches I remember the most was at a parking lot. So you'd move around the parking lot. The cache was not in the parking lot. It was, in a lightly wooded area nearby. But it walked you around the parking lot to find it, which I thought was a good use of both those areas.
Yeah, yeah. The night caches I've done they've all been in woods. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't expect them to be over here. I wouldn't expect them to be anywhere else. But there's always a first time.
Well, and those more urban ones, that's a good use of like the UV lights, because you can put the ink on the poles and that kind of thing that you can't necessarily do in the woods. But maybe you could even start one of those like in the parking lot for the campground,
Oh yeah. I've never done any caching with a UV light. So yeah, you give me an idea there. I'll jot that down. It's like I'm always looking to do something different, and using a UV light. I can think of a few places where that would work actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should keep you posted on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to know.
Exactly. Well, Pete, you could give placards to the cachers camping with you, written with the UV ink, and they'd have to go and get the series of coordinates from the different campsites.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll keep it simple first, to be honest.
Okay.
Oh boy, such ideas. And you could probably do kind of what you're talking about, Chris, is just like a temporary cache. If you're going to have an event, that might be a fun thing to set up for that night only, where the campground isn't going to let you put a cache there permanently, but maybe as a fun night event, do a adventure where you do UV lights, you do the fire tax, whatever. And maybe there's a big campfire at the end of it with s'mores and that kind of thing.
There you go.
Cider and donuts.
That's a real find.
Well, the cider over in the UK is a little different than our cider here.
Yeah, I hear this word s'mores all the time. What is s'mores?
Oh, Chris, you want to take that one?
S'mores is a odd confectionery treat that we make over a campfire here. We take graham crackers, a bit of chocolate, and then take a roasted marshmallow or toasted marshmallow that we've roasted over the campfire, put it between it, and make it a sandwich, like a sandwich.
Right. So yes, right here we just roast marshmallows.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, without the extras. So okay. Yeah.
Okay, and I think with that we better wrap this show up, or we're going to get into the culinary delights of camping, which, as we all know, are mostly stuff that we should not be eating. So thanks a lot, Pete. Before we do anything else, let's give everyone a rundown real quick again on how they can find your show.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Daryl. You can find the podcast show at thepodcastshow.com. You can also find it on iTunes. And you can contact us if you want to do. Anybody is welcome to contribute to the show. You can email us at thepodcastshow@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter at thepodcastshow.
And we did get one comment from Native Texan I want to read before we move on the lines of doing the event caches. She says what you should do is set up a moving cache on one of the alternative listing sites and just take it with you whenever you go caching. So that's definitely a good one.
Camp cache.
Idea. Yeah, then it's a legitimate cache. It's just not one that's on geocaching.com because they're the meanies that don't allow it.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So get an email ready to. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
And there goes our support from geocaching.com.
Yeah. Get an email ready going to GeoGearHeads@CashManiacs.com with question 152 as the subject. We have a prize from CoinsAndPins.com going out to one of the GeoGearHeads who can correctly answer who was the first to find Dave Ulmer's original stash. Include that name with your geocaching.com screen name in the body of that email, and it must be received at GeoGearHeads@CashManiacs.com by 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 26th. That's 6 p.m. Pacific or 2 a.m. November 27th UTC, and it must have the subject of question 152.
Very good. And the next shows we have coming up, because Daryl does such a great job of scheduling these shows. November 27th, that's Thanksgiving here in the U.S. We're going to have the Randomized 29 show. And Daryl, is it possible that maybe I could take a step back and not be the host, because I want a chance to win that great coin?
No, unfortunately, hosts are exempted, and so is our guest, that lovely Canadian.
Oh, bummer. So I I think I'm going to be sick and I won't be able to be hosting, but I could listen and win that coin, right? No?
No, because you have inside knowledge.
Oh, bummer. Okay. So,
especially since you're the one who wrote the question.
Well, yeah, but that's not the point. I want the coin. Okay. November 27th, we're doing the randomized show. December 4th, we're doing GC Droid with the developer from that product. December 11th, we're talking with Pretzels or Peanuts. Peanuts or Pretzels, that's it, as Caching Nomads. December 18th, we're doing Randomized Show 30. But hold on, we're not done, because December 18th, we're also doing a bonus episode for Randomized 30.
Check the Cachamaniacs website at cachamaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads@cachamaniacs.com, or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachamaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachamaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Offenauer and Daryl Weinberg. This show is copyright 2014 by Daryl Weinberg. All rights reserved.